Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Soufrière today, where we answer your frequently asked questions about the ongoing La Soufrière eruption in St. Vincent. And with me is Dr. Thomas Christopher, TC. Good morning, TC. How are you?
Good morning, Stacy.
Okay, great. So, TC, what we're hearing about in recent days are rock falls. We're hearing a lot about rock falls. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What are rock falls and what does that mean at all? Does it mean that we're closer to having an explosive eruption? Is there any significance to that?
Well, if you think about the dome and how it's actually come about, it's basically rocks that's being oozed out of the ground and it's piled up in a very ad hoc manner. So it's just a pile of rubble. And basically, as it grows, parts of it become unstable, and then pieces of it fall off, generating these rock falls, as we call them. The thing is, if it's growing really slowly, the rock falls would not be a common feature because you wouldn't get enough instability rather in the actual dome. But if that growth rate were to pick up, then you would see more rock falls. So monitoring your rate at which the rock falls occur is actually a good way of having a good idea of how fast your dome may be growing. And the occurrence of them does not indicate an explosive eruption of any kind. It just means that the dome is actually growing. So as long as we're seeing rock falls, it's growing. And ideally, when it stops growing, those rock falls would fall away or stop.
So, how do you actually monitor the rock falls if we're not there? How are we monitoring that?
Well, since the eruption, there's been quite a few seismometers put in, which are instruments that measure the shaking of the ground. And there were a few on island before. So now we have a network of working seismometers, and they pick up any sort of ground vibration, whether it be earthquakes or rock falls, which are basically avalanches of rocks impacting the ground. So these rocks impact the ground, they generate these sound waves. Instruments pick them up. And the seismologists that work for us, they're quite trained, so they can tell the difference between a rock fall and an earthquake just at looking at the signal.
Right. And so I know that we've been telling our viewers that we're using a lot of different techniques to monitor the volcano. We monitor seismicity, gas, and we've been strengthening the monitoring network since the team has been on island. Can you talk a little bit about some of the monitoring techniques that we've strengthened in the last week? And if that is going to really allow us sufficient time to issue warning in case the eruption escalates?
Yeah, so far we've beefed up the GPS network and the seismic network. So we have quite a few GPS continuous instruments, also seismometers working continuously 24/7, looking at vibrations in the ground, and the GPS is looking at deformation of the actual crust. Now the idea is that when a volcano is erupting, it deforms the crust, it generates earthquakes, it pumps out gas. Today, we don't have any permanent degassing instruments, and hopefully we can get to that stage. But if we can look at all of these signals and see what the story is we're getting from each of them, from the earthquakes, from the deformation, from the degassing, from the dome volumes, which we do by a dome survey, then we should be able to put a picture together as to what the volcano is doing and better understand what we think is going to happen. So basically what we're trying to do now is to just paint a picture of what is going on, given the information that we're getting from the different instrumentation. So one needs to remember that in 1979, quite a few of these techniques did not exist and were not applied to this volcano. So a lot of this stuff that we're seeing now, a lot of the information we're gathering now is quite new and it's quite useful in terms of helping us better understand what La Soufrière is doing.
And we would have done a dome survey on Friday. You guys went up to the
It was done on Friday.
Anything in particular you wanted to mention about that? Any special findings from that?
Well, the volume we got was just under 6 million cubic meters. So it added just under 1 million cubic meters in about 12 days. Now, normally, on average, it was doing 1 million in 8 days. So there's a slight slowing of the rate, but it's not significant for us to think, okay, there's a change in what the system is doing. And as I would have mentioned before, when you have extrusion of a lava onto the surface of the earth, whether it be generating a lava flow or a dome, that extrusion rate will ebb and it will also flow. So it's never constant. It would increase sometimes and it would decrease sometimes. So what we actually probably would have seen is one of these periods where it's actually on the lower end of the realm. But I think what we do as well, because we're only measuring at roughly once a week, if we can increase the tempo of measurements, then we can actually see better how it's varying, because there will be less gaps in our data set. And that is something that we're trying to do. So hopefully we try and go up either tomorrow or Wednesday and get another measurement. Try and get it down to 4 or 5 days.
So can we say now, TC, if because this has been going on now for since the end of December, so almost 2 months. So can we say now if things are increasing in danger? Is it more or less staying the same? Is it decreasing? Are we able to say that?
Well, based on the configuration of the volcano and how the eruption is progressing, the danger itself has not increased to the population living in the surrounding areas of the volcano, because the dome is still contained. There's also no danger, as we see, of an explosion, because the growth rate is quite slow and we're not seeing any other evidence of pressurization or anything like that. So as far as we are concerned, I mean, the eruption is an annoying one, but it's not threatening the lives of the people on the flanks of the volcano right now. The only danger it will pose is for persons who go up to the summit and choose to go down into the crater. That is where the danger is on the actual volcano. But the people on the flanks of the volcano are in no more harm than they were at the start of this eruption.
Okay. Well, that's certainly reassuring. And any idea how much longer you think this may continue? I know that's $1 million question, right?
Yeah, that's a difficult question for us to answer. And I think one of the things that we say in the community is the longer it goes on for, is the longer you expect it to go on for. We have to understand that these systems are quite complex and they're much larger than we can imagine. And there's a large volume of magma probably down there waiting to come out. The question is, can this system generate enough energy to erupt that magma? So it's a number of things which will affect whether or not it actually continues for a while. I think so far we've gone on for just over a month. Actually, well, going for 2 months. I think initially my best guess would have been around 6 months, but yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say how long it will go on for. But I don't get the impression it's going to stop tomorrow. If that's what you're asking. We expect it to go on for a bit longer, a few months longer, maybe at least.
Yes, and we know that volcanic eruptions, there's always a level of uncertainty and so forth. And so, again, I want to thank you for the update, TC, and I want to wish you and the team all the best. Keep safe and keep doing the job very well. I know our viewers have been giving us really good feedback, and we want to remind everyone to please pay attention to the NEMO and the UESRC for official updates on the ongoing eruption at La Soufrière volcano in St. Vincent. And visits to the crater are still restricted at this time. The danger is limited to the crater. Thanks again and take care.
Thank you.